talking about?
What are you talking about?
Search history.
I'm talking about the 2 a.m. podcast. That's what I'm talking about. Episode number 74.
74.
Big 7-4 here
With the
excellent guest, Chang.
Howdy,
Back in
howdy.
the saddle, round 3.
Yes, indeed.
Loved him so much.
Welcome
we had to bring him
back.
back again.
Outstanding.
And now that we're here, sorry, what were you bringing up a second ago?
Oh, you have Uncle Tom on YouTube searched up.
Yeah, you're right. And you want to know why I do? It was because somebody recommended that I watch it. It's actually not just a book; it's a documentary now. And somebody said I should watch it, and it's from the perspective like of Republicans and stuff, and how primarily talks about Black America being forced into a particular ideology, just given the fact that they think that's who they would work best for them, and it was essentially like democratic liberalism was pushed upon them rather than them choosing it. And I think that's what the documentary talks about. I haven't watched it yet. I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of problems with it for a number of reasons, but that's why I have it looked up, because somebody was like, give it a watch. I still haven't. Probably won't, not gonna lie. I bet you there's something to learn from it, that's for sure.
Well, everything is slanted from a particular perspective, though. This is the thing that every single thing that's emotionally loaded. The thing I think about, imagine, have you ever had like two friends of yours who you knew independently, that you knew them before they got together and dated and had a really messy breakup, and you ask them, hey, what happened between the two of you? And you get two wildly different stories about what happened. Like, if we've experienced this, now think about this when it comes to like entire, like whether it's wars or nations or races having some beef with each other.
It's
like, you think
magnified.
people aren't going to like lie about the shit that they did and then exaggerate the bad things the other person does? Like, we already can experience it firsthand. Like, you can be friends with two individual people, but like, look, I trust you as a friend. I just don't believe what you said about so-and-so, and vice versa. I think both of you are probably doing some version of exaggerating the other person's sins and minimizing your own whatever you did to contribute toward it. Right? That's something that you can personally relate to. All of us can have that experience of like, yeah, I have a friend, I have two people that I knew personally, they got together, they had a horrible breakup, and they're telling me these wildly different stories. Do you think that doesn't happen on a larger scale when entire nations get, killing each other, doing insane, like kind of racially or nationally based like aggression, defense, and whatnot?
It's a mission to get to the truth on the personal level. Imagine
Right.
the national, global
There's
level.
going to be the level of lying goes up, the amount of coordinated, and the thing is, it's at the ground level. You're not going to get any sort of. It's all just kind of organic. I mean, at that high level, people say, "Oh, this is the story that most people are going to uncritically follow." So you just got to say this thing, and everyone's going to go along with it, and everyone goes along with it. Like, this is something that, as a Chinese person, I grew for about age 3 to age 6. I lived in Japan. Now, here's the interesting thing: is that if you're familiar with the U.S. Global history, World War II, Japan, this is all factually documented, that Japan invaded China, slaughtered like just tons of people. I mean, and again, this, like, the number of people dead in China, they're going to exaggerate it, but the official toll is something like 600, 700,000 people just killed by Japanese, like civilians, not soldiers, civilians killed.
Wow.
God.
Japan, didn't happen. Japanese history book, like, if you were a Japanese person living in Japan, growing up in Japan, that's like, that didn't happen.
You don't hear anything.
Nothing.
About it.
It's like the whole thing is just like, it just never happened. Like, Germany, the whole thing with the death camps and whatnot. Like, they'll acknowledge it. They'll be like, right, Nanjing, like, exactly, right, the Nanjing massacre, all this stuff. If you were a Japanese person that grew up in Japan and went to Japanese schools to this day, this whole thing never happened. I mean, Japan, like, Germany has to formally apologize, sends money to Israel, whatever, a bunch of stuff. In Japan, it's like, yeah, that thing never happened, and we're not apologizing for something we never did. And they'll say it to this day, just like
That's
none
way
happened.
past denial.
But that's the thing is, and most of history is
core
like
belief.
this. Most of history is like this, though. This is the thing that's worth remembering, is that we have, and now you have an entire. Remember, like, now, like, modern day 20-something Japanese people, they have no history, they have no context. Like, well, yeah, that's just a bunch of made up stories that people make about or whatever. If you travel outside, like, yeah, I guess maybe we're told some stories about our government, but that's literally hundreds of millions of people. That's their understanding of reality. Flip side to that, though, several years ago, I was dating a woman who was from Tiananmen. She lived at the time as a kid near Tiananmen Square. So I asked her, like, "Oh, you live near the area? Do you remember what happened during that whole incident where a bunch of soldiers?" I didn't say very much beyond that. I kind of wanted to get her reaction, and her reaction, organic reaction, was, "Oh, you mean that time all those students attacked those poor soldiers?"
That is amazing.
That was her recollection of the event. That happened in like what 1990.
I think in the
1990 or 89 was when that incident happened. And so, and again, she was going off of what was told to her in her elementary and high school, 89, education. And China has like what 1.5 billion people, like 1.5 billion people. That's their understanding of history. There's no alternative story to that. This is the story. Any contrary story is anti-China propaganda, ginned up by enemies of China who want to slur us with bad stories about our supposed atrocities, which never happened. This is the thing,
dude. Yeah,
right. This is we have like actual things and there are people with living memory that can contradict it, but we're just gonna they'll all get silenced, and then in about 30, 40 years, there'll be no one alive to contradict it. It's just going to be like,
wow.
Another example of that would be like the Armenians and the Turkish.
Right?
Yeah. Or the Palestinians and the Israelis.
Right?
Exactly.
It's all two-sided stories that are completely opposite.
And both are completely convinced that, oh yeah, anything that puts our people at like in an unflattering light are all complete lies and propaganda. We are total victims. And you realize, just like with your friends who broke up, it's like, dude, there's no way one person. First of all, if that person's such a piece of shit, why'd you date him in the first place?
Yeah.
Clearly, you saw something in it, and then now all of a sudden you're broken up. So obviously, that person's a total irredeemable, sociopathic liar, blah blah blah, whatever. And you're just this hapless victim. It's like that's just that kind of crazy exaggeration and sort of like going on. That's exactly what goes on between nations. We have that's just like a breakup. No one died. It's just you dated and now you don't like him anymore and you broke up. Someone cheated. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Like you're no longer apart. Now imagine two nations, two full countries that say we're gonna fight. We're gonna have people die over like land, over property, over like whatever, mining rights, whatever it is, in retaliation for some slight. And now we're no longer fighting. A bunch of people are dead, and we're gonna just tell the truth about it. No, we're definitely gonna lie about it. We're definitely lying about that shit. We're gonna.
To what extent does that take place on like at least the changing of the narrative in like U.S. textbooks, for example?
Oh, there's lots of lying going on. So much lying going on.
It has to be insane,
right? I mean, that's the thing. There's no one alive to contradict it. So whoever gets to get themselves appointed as historian, gets to determine like who's the bad guy in each story, and that's it. And then you have a couple of generations. That's the consensus. And most people will reflexively trust whatever is in the history textbook. This is what history says. That's like
Columbus was a saint,
or nowadays he's a villain. The reality is probably somewhere in the middle. Right now it's like, oh, he's a villain and whatever. He's like a horrible colonizer, and American Indians are all like these people that perfectly lived with nature. It's like, dude.
Some of the most violent people.
Exactly. The South American Indians were like, sacrificing, cutting people's hearts out. You just gloss it over. Like, that didn't happen. So this is the thing. We all have these kinds of, all of our understanding of reality is based upon these kinds of, we have to accept at face value stuff that in reality is like, no, these are all very emotionally loaded stories that are fed to us by people that have an agenda. They want you to feel like certain people are total villains, other people are innocent, like put upon by diabolical forces out there of control. And again, like the easiest example that we can all relate to is the two friends who dated and broke up. You know them both individually. They have their flaws and their virtues. And you can see how they rub each other the wrong way. And now they broke up. And it's like, now they tell you these crazy stories of, oh, this person was her. It's like,
I find that hard to believe. Yeah.
Right? And likewise, most humans are likewise.
Yeah.
Groups of people are going to have wildly different values. And when they come into conflict, there will be sometimes, and usually we try to, even if I don't like somebody, it's like, let's try to figure this out in a non-violent way. And if it escalates to the point where, okay, one of us is going to die over some differences, it's like, okay, that's some serious like level of dissent. And then somebody does die, probably multiple people on each side. And at that point, it's like, okay, well, let's stop killing each other for a while and just figure this out. That's the end of a war. It's like, okay, we're not going to fight to the last man. All right, fine. Either like, you're so good at killing us, we got to like stop it because we're going to be no one left, or we don't want to come across and like just murder everybody and look like assholes. So let's kind of figure out something. And
yeah, it takes me back to like I think early middle school when we first received our textbooks, especially for history. And coming from an Arab American household, we were always told like, hey, like be careful, not everything's the truth, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
People mingle with things. So I remember like reading. It could be anything. It could be slavery, and I'll be like, "Did it really happen?"
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Which is healthy. Skepticism is healthy.
And then I guess the curiosity bubble just started growing,
Yeah, for sure.
and you start to venture off on your own, and then you read things online. That's like what's cool about I think my age group is that we had textbooks, but at the same time Google was advancing, so it was only getting better year by year by year. So you're getting more and more information. You're getting outside perspectives, and now you're like, wait, hold on, this news group is not even in America.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's one of them? Reuters,
Yeah.
Al Jazeera, whatever. They started popping off really well. So then you have all these sources of information, and you're like, wait, hold the hell on. I thought my textbook was accurate. No, it's not. And I just think it's
a battle for narrative.
Yeah.
It's who gets to control what thousands, millions of young people understand to be truth, what's good, what's bad, whatnot. It's constantly we're trying to fight. Various factions are fighting for narratives, and it's if you can convince a bunch of people to believe that their own people are bad, we deserve to be erased or whatever, that's a win for the people, and all of these kinds of things. If you think about like right now in China, what's interesting is that they are in the process of slowly conquering / absorbing Tibet. I don't know if you're familiar with right? So the short version.
Hell of a fight too, Tibet, from my understanding. Like,
Really?
Well, it's a really harsh climate, like Tibet in general. Right?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, I don't think planes are allowed to fly over Tibet, just given that the mountain range causes so
Pretty
many
high,
problems.
yeah.
It's too crazy.
Yeah, its altitude is crazy, and also the wind variations in between the mountains cause planes to go down there all the time. So.
The thing, though, is that what they're doing is a soft version of a conquest where the Tibetan territory, first of all, because of the gender asymmetry, unmarried Chinese males are being sent by the tens of thousands into Tibet, and organic demographics, men with money around with women with no money, they will marry them, and then there'll be like half Tibetan, half Chinese kids growing up in the area. And the other thing also is that the Chinese government says we will fund Mandarin Chinese education, but not Tibetan education.
Yeah.
So now you have each generation in Tibet, the number of Tibetan literate organically, it's going to drop by about like 30-40% each generation. And about 50 years, like, hey, listen, does anyone still want to be part of Tibet? I mean, who even speaks the language anymore? Well,
What a checkmate move.
And it's like without a single gun being fired, without any sort of like actual form of military aggression, you could just entirely dissolve a nation, annex its people, and with their full supposed consent. And these kinds of demographic kinds of fights are happening all around the world, where it's like violent fights, it's ugly, there's dead bodies, you look like aggressors, and you have like very sympathetic photos, unless you can completely suppress everything, which in the modern day of camera phones you really can't. The atrocities will be visible, whereas like, oh yeah, we put it to a vote, they all said they wanted to be part of China, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna go against their consent. You manufacture it over like over a 30, 40, 50-year gambit, and ultimately the entire territory is yours, without a shot getting fired, without anyone getting murdered or gulagged or whatever, without an open declaration of war. And I think these are the kinds of things that there's an expression of like fourth, fifth generation, depending on how you view it, fourth, fifth generation warfare, where people don't even realize they're in a war. And that's kind of where we are right now. Is that China is very effective at waging this kind of like current generation warfare, where you don't even recognize a threat, and by the time you realize that, it's like, well, you don't even have a people anymore. So yeah, rally to me, fellow Navajo Indians. We will retake the Navajo nation. Who is even Navajo? A bunch of guys on a reservation. You're gonna pick up your bows and arrows and go and fight the U.S. Army? Like, dude, whatever.
That heard some white chick from Wisconsin. Who's
Right.
Like, I'm like 164.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, like-
Can you fire an arrow? I watched the Hunger Games once. No.
nice.
Right? There's no military might. There's nothing, and so that's because that was kind of it was an earlier version of that in Northern California. It wasn't like the settlers in North America physically fought every single Indian tribe. It was just like, hey, listen, we'll give you a reservation, we'll give you like liquor, we'll give you like whatever, and here you have some gambling licenses, you get to have all the stuff, and then eventually it just whittled down to nothing. And
Here are the creature comforts.
yeah, creature comforts.
Yeah.
And so China doing the same thing, and we talked about this last time. The first episode was talking about like what China's doing in Africa.
Yeah.
They're doing the same thing there. It's like there's entire colonies now that are set up in East Africa, where over time they will completely supplant the existing, all the best real estate. It's like, hey, the average African income is very low. So some Chinese guy comes up with like, hey, here's $25,000. It's like,
like
more money they've ever seen in their life. Like, yeah, I'll buy your house for 25 grand. Okay. Beachfront property. Boom. 25 grand paid for. Now now they own.
Did you hear about their education initiative as of lately that they think their young boys are becoming too feminine?
I saw that. So they're encouraging. So yeah, think about like, in the U.S. versus the big, large competitor nations, America, U.S. and China. America is like, oh, you know, it's okay for boys to cry or cut off your penises and take estrogen shots. And if you want to compete as a girl, put on a wig, you can be a woman and be like the #1 female sprinter.
It's a South Park thing.
Literally South Park. Like that is literally a South Park.
I did see that. Yeah.
What's the name? It's killing me. Oh
and then meanwhile, China's like, we don't like this thing. And they have a ministry of culture in a way that we don't have here. A ministry that says that, okay, here are things that are okay to portray and here are things that are not okay to portray. Mm-hmm. Like the other funny thing about China is that every single movie in China has to be run by a film bureau. Mm-hmm. Anything that so you can, in China, for instance, you can never make a movie about a successful rebellion. You can talk about unsuccessful rebellions. Really? Like, it's futile to try and overthrow the state. Wow. Here's what happened. They all died. Right? Like if you remember the movie, Jet Li was starring in a movie called Hero. Yeah. Where he was spoiler. He tried to assassinate the emperor of China, and then at the last minute realized that it would plunge China to chaos. So he like voluntarily gave him his mission at the last minute to save China and whatever, and give up the rebellion. Mm-hmm. That was a story. Like, okay, that we could allow. We don't actually want to have like a story about like, oh, this guy was a corrupt emperor and we cut his head off and we installed a new government. It's like, like the Chinese government would completely like just axe that. So there's a ministry.
The crazy thing is, I actually agree with at least the article that I read about that education program. I agree with most of it. Because it's like they're thinking about putting retired
military guys.
Military guys, sports athletes.
Oh yeah. Because they feel like a lot of the Chinese, like kind of the role model idol types are like these kind of makeup wearing, very skinny, kind of like effeminate. Maybe they're gay, maybe they're not, but that kind of energy. They're like, a lot of guys are now, because we respond to what's on the big screen. Mm-hmm. We try to emulate the people.
What's the music group? BTS?
BTS. Oh, that's Korean.
Oh, is it Korean?
Yeah, same thing.
That came from you, not me.
It's all the same thing. Come on. But yeah. So that's a thing. And so now, imagine like in about 15, 20 years, China will have a military and the U.S. will have a military. Who is going to have recently we had the Biden administration say that we're going to roll back all of our bars against like transgendered military. It's like, okay, everyone should have a shot at being a soldier. It's like, that's not the point of it. It's like the point of the military is fighting and killing enemies of your nation. You
have to be realistic.
Not giving everyone a shot. It's like, are we going to have... Anyway, so that's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. And China's going to be like, no, we're not doing that.
Well, Logan and I spoke before this. What did you want to ask him about Biden specifically?
Yeah.
Just about his...
No, I was just wondering how you felt about his entire administration as of right now.
I think he's been super quiet.
Yeah,
quiet, but also
about this while you guys went away. It's quiet for a reason, but you can go.
Yeah, I mean, think about the fact that like this dude has been like, he's quiet, and yet he's like most executive orders signed by any president ever. In the first 2 weeks, like 15, 20 executive orders. Wow. And then during the campaign, he was like, oh, executive orders are that's not a democracy. You got to like get consent. Everyone's got to agree. That was him as a candidate. Yeah. Now that he's like in the office. And the reality is that it's pretty clear he's not in charge, but he's reading off a teleprompter. And the question is, who's writing his teleprompters? We have no idea. I have no idea. This is the thing. Nobody knows. It was like, there's
Kamala Harris.
No, not even that. She's not that smart. I mean, you look at the campaigns, because actually I paid money and got into the fundraising campaign and shook hands with two of the Democrat challengers for the 2020 election. So I met and paid to get into the Andrew Yang fundraiser and the Tulsi Gabbard. And I've got photos of both of them. I shook hands with them, asked some questions. These are I have my own issues with both of them, but like these are people that actually had organic support.
Yes.
The reality is nobody with no hardcore Democrat wanted Biden or Harris. Neither of them got any sort of support when, like, there are like a ton there's a bunch of Democrats that really love Bernie, really love like Elizabeth Warren, whatever. Like they have their own reasons. I have my own partisan disagreements with them, but it's clear they had organic support. Neither of them got anywhere near close. Like Harris, she had to drop out because she was so embarrassing for her that she didn't have any support. So, and having been an attorney general here in California, it's like she wasn't that popular here. She had no organic support, and yet somehow she's thrust in this position. It's like
amazing.
What it begs, it's like the idea that all the stuff we go through this whole motion. No, everyone gets to choose. It's the story that helps placate the masses. Like when something against your consent happens, you're like, yeah, but everyone else wanted it. Trust me, wink, wink, wink. And it's like, wait, who wanted it? When we tallied up what everyone wanted, nobody wanted her, and now all of a sudden she's what everyone wanted. Like, when did that happen? There's no clear answer to this.
Yeah,
and nobody gets curious about it. I mean, there's a lot of. And, there's disaffected Bernie people. There's disaffected, like, Elizabeth Warren people that are just like, hey, what the hell's going on here? Nothing.
So here's the question. How long do you think Biden will last?
Oh, he's definitely, he's already.
I don't think he'll make it.
No. He's not going to make it. I mean, my guess is he'll either step down for health reasons or just drop dead within like a year.
A year?
Dead.
Well, damn. I mean, like, look at the kinds of, this is a man in cognitive decline. I mean, and the thing is that he's definitely being pumped full of drugs the moment he's rolled out on stage, which probably shortens his lifespan even further.
It happens rapidly too.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's like usually if you're like in a fragile health, you don't want to pump a fragile human body full of like bunch of drugs to make him look alert.
Yeah.
Look at the camera, whatever. But it's like that was the deal with the devil that he signed, was like, hey, listen, man, we'll make you president. You get to kind of fulfill a lifelong ambition, but we're going to shorten your lifespan. You may have lived to like 80 on your own. You're going to drop dead like 9 years soon, but you get to be president. You get to,
Mm-hmm.
So that's the deal. It's like, this is the offer. That's otherwise you're gonna if without the drugs he'd just be exactly the sort of bumbling dude that you see little snippets of when he's on camera. Like, he was alert like 5 years ago. You listen to him give speeches 5 years ago, and he's like, I disagree with them, but it's like, all right, you can see he has his own perspective. Now he's just reading whatever is fed to him.
Mm-hmm.
Before the election too, like some of the sentences he would say just did not make any sense.
He didn't get a goddamn sense. And then he'd repeat himself. There's like a video recently of him after he signed a law. This is a video of him, like, he's trying to put a pen back in his suit pocket, and he couldn't find the pocket inside his suit. He's just like,
He's getting breathless.
That's either dementia or Alzheimer's. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and it was just,
it's apparent.
Yeah, he couldn't put his pen back into his pocket after he signed his law. There it is. Look at this thing. He signs I'm
gonna review this legislation
that I haven't read, but I was told by my handlers to sign it, and he can't find. Where the fuck is it? What?
It's obvious. It's right there.
Can't find it. Like, you know what?
I don't think he actually made it.
He didn't. No, he put it in his left. He couldn't do it. He couldn't insert a pen into a inside suit jacket pocket, a task that a 15-year-old, a 10-year-old could do.
He can see it.
Yeah,
he can visibly see it.
But he can't do it
right there. Yeah.
But he can't do it.
Just think of
slips it to the side.
He's like, all right, I just gotta
think of any 9-year-old like you just happen to see.
I know Biden's thinking of
right?
9-year-olds.
Just like
God damn. Right.
Anyways, go on.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. It's like so the question is, who's propping him up? And you'd figure that within a theoretically free press environment, there would be at least a couple of journalists that are curious about this. There's no journalist to ask this question. Everyone just goes along with this idea that he's the guy in charge and he knows what he's doing, and look at all these great policies that are happening. The original is like, the moment I get elected, $2,000 checks go out to everybody. I don't know. Did you get your $2,000 checks?
Nope.
Probably won't.
And then now it's like 14 is like negotiating downward. Like, we gave you 6 last time, so the 14 plus that 6 is the 2. It's like, no.
Here you go, peasants.
You campaigned as I get elected, everyone gets $2K after I get elected. That's what you said. Like, we got videos of you saying that. Now it's like, that 600 last year that Trump gave you, that's added to it, and we give you 14 on top of that. That's 2, right? That's 2. Yeah, right.
Speaking of, on the other side of the coin, I'm amazed by how great of a job they've done on silencing Trump.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah. No, I mean,
have you heard anything?
No.
Ever since the
but of course now everyone said reference. Now they all miss him. All these all these ratings have gone down for all these news shows. So now they're like they have to kind of bring him back. It's like, dude, that's the whole point of silencing him, to get rid of him. Now that he's gotten rid of, now you're like,
yeah, just like you said earlier.
What?
You were telling me, you were like, dude, Biden doesn't do enough. And then Logan was like, what do you mean? He just posted on Instagram.
Well, I didn't say
and I was like, you're just used to. You thought Trump was right, dude.
No.
What he was doing was completely new. We just have gotten used to it.
yeah,
That's a good point.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Point.
Twitter fingers all day.
I just have at least from I'm not a big like news guy.
Hey, Pence, pass the water.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
tweet
listen
anything.
to a lot of mainstream media, but I barely hear anything from Biden as opposed to Trump.
But that's how.
But that's the thing is,
usually
I believe that a president
go to
should
your
be
news
vocal
source.
about what he's doing.
you think so, but it's like,
I don't know.
Different imagination, reality. Yeah,
I got you.
But that's the thing, but also like on January 20th at the inauguration was when they changed the standard for what's considered. Right, there you go.
That's what I was trying to get to.
for what, COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The standard was changed right on the 20th to say, okay, well, you need to have this much on a COVID test to count as a COVID positive. And so before the threshold was very low, the whole idea was to gin up a large number of, oh my God, look at all these people getting COVID. Now, by setting the threshold higher, it's like, oh yeah, the pandemic is more or less resolved. You can open the businesses now. Blah blah, and then look at the great job that this new president. Look, the horrible. This guy was terrible. Now this new guy's awesome. It's like,
I'm not trying to be like a conspiracy guy when it comes to this shit, right? But you have to look at evidence that gets brought up or presented.
What
to
is this?
you, right?
The CDC website?
And well, I know the CDC website. This isn't even the website I was trying to get to. I was trying to find a statistic that showed that the COVID rate in the U.S. had dropped over 40%.
Yep.
Within the span of a week. But now when I try to find it, I can't find it anywhere.
Yep.
Go to DuckDuckGo.
Dude. Well, I don't think DuckDuckGo would resolve the problem.
Yeah.
Well, try it. I mean, because the thing is, Google is specifically
Google hides a lot of stuff.
Google hides a lot of stuff.
They do, and it's more blatant as the days go by.
Oh, it's been blatant for a while.
Yeah,
Actually, I got a funny story once you finish thinking. Yeah.
But I was trying to find out this 40%.
And surely it's not the vaccine because not that many doses have been.
No,
not to the degree that we're talking 40%. Hopefully it shows up.
Drop.
I think that was the graph I was looking. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Right, drop 40%.
Insane.
This is the New York
Looks
Times.
like a
Which
crypto
doesn't
chart.
show up in
Looks like a
in the
fucking
thing.
crypto chart.
Here's the funny thing about Google. Actually, here's a fun, it's completely like separate
Algo.
issue, but it's a fun showcasing of how Google is heavily biased. Go to Google and look up, like, there's two separate tabs, one for google.com and one for google.co.mx. So Mexican Google and regular Google. So google.com.
Mexican Google?
Yeah,
So this is
google.com. You go 2 tabs, and we'll do a search on both of these, same search string for both of them. So, and then google.co.mx. .mx. Okay, so Mexican Google.
Interesting.
Mexican Google.
Oh, wait, what? Google.com.mx?
Oh,
.com.
that
Yeah,
might be
yeah. Hang on a sec. Mexico. I thought it was
They shut it down already.
There we go. So that's Mexican Google. Now, side by side, in Google Mexico, do inventores americanos, American inventors, inventores americanos, right? And then Google. Okay, that's image. Now, keep that tab open. Now go back to regular Google.
Do the same thing.
American inventors.
Oh shit!
No.
Let's see the difference.
It's all black.
Oh, that's insane.
It's all the way down to like Benjamin Franklin is the first white face you see.
That is
Thomas Edison
insane.
is
Thomas said, "Oh, okay. They can't just erase him." But
Yeah.
Granted, but
like,
there's
but
obviously
the side by side, like the exact same phrase in 2 different languages, and yet like
go to the other one.
American inventors and then inventores americanos, you have like
Wow.
What the hell?
Alexander Graham Bell, Benjamin Franklin, like right? Legit American inventors. All of these guys are erased. These guys, this is the organic. Like this is a specific and narrowly targeted.
I'm fucking.
Well,
my mind
also,
is blown.
You do have to keep in mind it is Black History Month right now. And
No. I've done this before. Like non-February. It's the same thing. This is a common thing that several people have been like, wait, what?
Wow.
So whatever phrases,
Yes.
same thing,
Right.
different websites in different regions.
Right. But it's like
Different
here, it's like we're both
regions.
going from the American IP addresses, obviously, but nonetheless, this is meant for Mexican audiences or Mexican Americans that are accustomed to going google.com.mx. So this is like Mexicans. It's specifically targeted to American, like white Americans. It's like, oh, yeah, all these inventors are black. It's like, no, they're not. But why would they lean this hard in this way? And it's so brazen and blatant.
Yeah.
You know what? I know it may seem like a extreme example for those that are listening,
Yeah.
but what we're looking at right now
Yeah.
on Google, for the American Google, Thomas Edison is the
first
first
one?
one that comes up, and
Right.
then everybody else. I think there's a list of
1, 2, 3, 4,
what is
5.
that, 10? Like 9 or 10?
Yeah, and then Benjamin Franklin. Yeah, 10. 1, 2,
9 or 10 other
10 or
inventors
11.
which are black, which
Right.
do have significant contributions.
Well,
like
you say
the
significant. What are their
invention
actual
book.
achievements? I mean, let's click the Alexander Graham Bell. That's number. He was number 2 in Mexico and number
Yeah.
4 here. And then these guys, like, what's their background? Like, right? It's
George Washington
Carver,
American agricultural scientist who promoted alternative crops to cotton and methods to prevent soil depletion.
Right.
So he actually played a pretty big role.
Now, do you think this is just
it's intentional?
Just for diversity's sake?
Yeah, it's designed to basically. I mean, imagine this is the thing. Like I think about like there's like in China, there's like a X% population of China that's like Tibetan or Mongolian or whatever. Mm-hmm. Imagine going to China and looking up their version of like a search engine, Weibo or whatever, and then looking up like Chinese inventors and having the first bunch of names be like a bunch of Tibetans. It would never happen, right? Any other nation, like no. Like there might be a couple of people from the non-minority that like did some stuff, but statistically, we're the majority, and majority of the inventions are going to be our own people. And like that's going to be, especially in your own language.
Yeah.
Right there, here it's like intentionally
that is insane. I didn't know it was
amplifying, right? And it's like right there.
Yeah. This reminds me of like the TikTok challenges where people like search this into Google,
right?
And then type this website in and search that.
I feel like here's the thing though, right? Especially with American inventor, I understand that there is a large. There's a large amount of black inventors on this board, and no problem with that, right? But here's the thing: when you Google Chinese inventors, right? Not only are you talking about
Han Chinese, right?
You're talking about the country. You're talking about also the nationality, like you just said, Han Chinese, right? But when you say American, there's not just one color of American. There's a lot of like
statistically, the people that had access to education, science education, whatnot, is going to be overwhelmingly white. There's a lot of like former slaves and whatnot. So it's like, yes, even if you have a high IQ, if you were born illiterate, you're not going to be an inventor. Maybe unfair, but that's just reality. So up until very recently, it's a tiny subset of a subset of a subset, and yet somehow they're massively intentionally like there's a massive thumb. I guarantee you, most people couldn't know any of those names. You ask for regular American inventors, you'd be like, oh yeah, Edison, Tesla, because of Tesla, whatever, right? These are the things that, because the whole point of Google is that we're supposed to go for what everyone, remember the original point of Google is what is heavily linked already that organically people assume as the consensus. That's what's supposed to be at the top of the search engine. So when you think about regular, you ask, you go to like Wheel of Fortune, what was it? The show Family Feud. The survey says, like, you ask 100 people, regular Americans, about name an American inventor. People would say certain names like Edison, Tesla, Benjamin Franklin. Who's heard of Garrett Morgan
or Lewis Latimer?
Right. I mean, I'm sure they're like they've probably got a patent. They've got whatever. But it's like this is not the first name that comes to mind.
Yeah.
It's put up front for a reason. It's put up there. It's thrust up front for a.
No, I'd like to do a little transition here because mentioning Apple, Google, these are all examples of centralized businesses. Right?
Yeah.
They have all the power. They have all the clout.
Yep.
But for example, with this chart, this looks like a crypto chart, and that's what I want to go into.
Yeah. He's talking about the 40% decline rate.
I want to go. I want to go
and
into
GameStop stock.
No, not my money.
especially with GameStop, the Wall Street bets whole scenario.
Yeah.
What is your stance, at least on current fiat currency and the direction of cryptocurrency?
Well, one of the things that's worth pointing out that several people within the crypto community have talked about was this idea that like something like 30% of all US dollars in circulation, period, on the planet was printed in 2020.
30 or 40, I heard
30%, right? 30% of, so if you have money,
insane,
and if your investments didn't go up 30%, you've already lost purchasing power. Just if you sit tight, like whatever money you had in your wallet, like someone else printed a bunch of bills basically, and those same bills are chasing a finite number of goods and services. If you didn't increase your holdings by 30 to 40% in 2020, you're just breaking even. That's the way to think about it from the perspective of, this is why I'm going to encourage anybody, if you're young, you have a limited assets still, like the first thing you can do if you have like earned income is open up like a Roth IRA, whatever, have something where you have investments that at least has a chance of going up, because the cash in your wallet is not going up, right? You just, whatever cash you have, whatever cash you have. Owning crypto, owning like securities, owning like things. But in general, like the government, the temptation is always, because right now the government owes a ton of money. What was it, like some ridiculous trillions and trillions of dollars, right?
Unlimited.
But it's a finite number. It's a U.S. total U.S. debt, and there's two ways to pay off a debt. You can either earn it. You can the productivity of your citizens. You can tax them, and then that tax can be used to pay off this debt, or you can just print more money and say, yeah, you know what, I owed you like 50 million. Here's 50 million. I just wrote a check. Here you go.
Yeah.
And then now to tax you have to spend resources. Your economy has to grow. Then you have to find the rich people to tax them, and then they're going to get all their deductions. And then you got to like fight for every penny of these tax revenues, or you can just print. The temptation for any lazy politician is just print it. Well, the problem of inflation will be for a politician that's 15, 20 years after me. I'll be dead by then. I don't care.
Yeah.
And so that's the other reason why like politicians are old, because they don't have to live through the consequences of whatever bad decisions they make. It's just pure.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I'm of the view that like any politician with no biological children should not be a politician. You have no skin in the game. After you're gone, like, and here's the funny thing is that up until in the Western Europe, until Boris Johnson was elected for Prime Minister of England, before that, his predecessor, Theresa May, every single prime minister or whatever of Western Europe, not one of them had a single biological child. None.
No skin in the game.
No skin in the game. It's like if you screw up, if you leave a destitute nation, your descendants, there's no descendants for you to worry about. It's just like, yeah, I'm out. I got to live my life. I got to like, hang out and do sort of big fancy head of state functions and whatever. Other people's kids have to deal with my bad decisions. I get to do my thing. I get to be treated like a king, fly around in fancy private jets, have parties on yachts, do like, degenerate like sex parties in castles, whatever it is that like, ruling class people do.
Yeah.
And there's no consequence. I don't worry about like my kids suffering the consequence of my bad decisions. This is the opposite of the whole Crusader Kings thing. Did I ever talk about Crusader Kings?
Oh, the video game. Right? Yes.
We talked about this.
It was a very interesting one. I loved it.
Yeah. So do you remember this?
Do you know
I do not remember this.
So,
Crusader Kings.
So
crazy game.
So there's a video game called Crusader Kings, which I've refused to buy and install on my computer because I know how obsessed I would be with it. So the short version of it is Crusader Kings as a game is you play a character. Okay. You are a minor lord of some like little castle, and then in the game you actually age. So like every hour is like a year of time or whatever. So eventually you'll grow old and die. And so during this, as you progress, you have to like marry somebody, and then you have children with them, and then eventually when your character dies, you as a game player, you get to play as your heir. You're now firstborn son or whatever. Now it's become the lord of the castle, and so you have to live with the consequence of what you made previously. So you can do things like, well, I'm going to marry someone who's like a kind of a dumb but like wealthy daughter of some like much powerful like nearby like castle. You marry her, now you have like, okay, you get to marry your way into some money, but now all your kids are stupid. So you have money, but now if you're a stupid ruler, then a couple of things happen. Like you have your tax collection is more inefficient. If you declare war, your soldiers are going to die a lot more in battle. You're going to lose a lot more like kind of in between like kind of edge case battles. Everything's going to be run more inefficiently. If you're smart, if you have smart offspring, it's like, okay, your choices are that, or you can marry someone who's like a very intelligent person who's just kind of broke, and so you have smart offspring, but you have no money. So now you have to make these tactical choices in which like you make a decision, and then like 3 generations down, that third generation has to live with the consequences of the decisions made by their grandparent.
Oh my God. You can go down the realistic route and keep power in the family and have incest.
Right. So those are you have these choices, but you deal with inbreeding and all that. So the whole game is that and the game ends when you have no heirs. Yeah. And so if you screw up badly enough where you're a young king, you haven't been married, you have no kids, and then you get killed in battle, that's it, game's over.
What the hell?
So it's a fascinating game, right? So you have all these things, you have to make these decisions.
I like it. I love the idea that you're sacrificing something.
Right. You always have to make a trade-off. You're always making a decision. You're giving up something against them. You build an alliance with a nearby kingdom, but now you have an ally, but also that means all that kingdom's enemies are now your enemies. So you may be like, okay, this is really convenient because I'm surrounded by enemies, so I got an ally. Well, you know what? All the people that hate them, now they hate you too.
Yeah.
What is this, like a mix of Civilization and like some other games?
Yes. So then now the whole point is you start off, the goal is, if you can, turn a tiny fiefdom into like ruler of all of Europe or whatever. And to do that, of course, is very, very long, treacherous. You have to kind of build alliances, play off other large kingdoms against each other, exhaust them in wars, pick off, whatever. So there's a whole like ongoing generational kind of a thing you have to think about. And again, there's consequences that generations down you have to pay for a thing that, okay, it was convenient now, but now, god damn it, I've got stupid DNA flowing through me, and all my descendants are stupid because I needed money at the time, and now I gotta like breed out the stupid DNA by like having multiple generations of smart children to kind of like breed out and make it like thin out the dumb DNA or whatever.
I'm playing this tonight. I am playing this tonight. I kid you not. In the past 2 days, I've been wanting to play Sid Meier's Civilization.
This is much more involved.
I mentioned this to him. I'm like, this is a game that I can see having like practical application in real life,
right?
Because it makes you think, like,
right,
okay.
and then, so you have all these. You have to make these very very long thinking decisions based upon like, and so they're already like this game is there's the current version is Crusader Kings 3. There's like version 1, version 2. What I do is I just wait for my friends to describe their most interesting campaigns. Like if I install it, I would just lose all productivity. It would just drop the stones. So I'll just listen to them. Like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah. And I'll just not install it. I'll just kind of nod politely and be like, wow, that's really interesting. All right.
Installing the 7th
Resist the impulse to hit buy. But like the whole point is that, there are people effectively in the real world that play this game in their own lives. They think about their own lineages. They think about their own bloodlines. And there are people that have like, I don't know if I mentioned last time we spoke on this. There was a good friend of mine. He has, she might be gone by now. At the time, he had an aunt that was about like in her 70s, and she was, it was one of these, like she's now at the end of her life at the time, and so she was comfortable talking about it. When she was in her youth, when she was in her like early 20s or whatever, beautiful, like, she was really, really pretty in her youth. And she married into like one of these dynastic Japanese families. They're all in Japan. They're all Japanese. And so this family was like, they can trace their lineage back into like the 1500s, into the Tokugawa period. They've like, the family owned like chunks of Japan for like hundreds of years, kind of a thing. They own like real estate back into whatever. And then she married like the first son of a first son of a first son. It was like a big deal, whatever. And then they got married. It was like a big deal for her. Like you got to marry your way into basically Japanese royalty. It was like a big deal. She couldn't have kids. Biologically, whatever, she couldn't have kids. And the family was like, hey, listen, man, it wasn't your fault, but we need to just have you go away. Like not divorce, because we don't want a record of like our son being divorced. We want you to just disappear, and we own the court, so we can basically make your legal marriage, just fucking disappear.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my God.
But in exchange, burn every single photo you have with him. You can, if you want to remarry and say you were unmarried, and someone does a background check, it will totally come out clean. Because as far as the courts are concerned, you are a brand new person. We'll give you keys to a apartment, like a fancy like a apartment in downtown Tokyo. We'll give you like $10,000 a month as an allowance for the rest of your life. You go find someone else. Just fucking walk away. Walk away. That's your offer. Or fight us, and we will fucking destroy you. Those are the carrot and the stick.
Jeez, take the offer.
Take the offer. So she
did. We will fucking destroy you.
And we have infinite resources. So yeah, it's like yes.
Yeah.
And so she took the offer, but it was like one of these, it was like, and but the thing is, if you're a single woman living in like a fancy apartment in Tokyo with like just gobs of money, how do you remarry? And also, I think there was a thing where she was really in love with them. There was one of these where it was like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And so, but they needed to continue the line. Like, well, look, we have a lineage and you're not participating in an important part of this family dynamic. So if you did something wrong, if you cheated on him, if you lied to him, we would just destroy you, period. We wouldn't offer you. The fact that you did nothing wrong, it was just a biology thing. Well, we're just going to say, look, man, here's the honorable exit. Take the offer, or we'll do the thing we're going to do anyway.
And that's why we're pitching Crusader Kings 3 in Japan.
Oh my God. They have different expansion packs now for the Middle East and whatever, but it's like... of course they would. Of course they would.
That's literally what I was reading on Steam. Like I think like a week ago. There's plans for these.
MMO
of course.
This is going to be
different types of expansion packs that are updated with today's terms. I don't know. It's weird, but
I bet. Could you imagine like the South American expansion?
Oh, there's going to be also.
If you did like the Mayan expansion in Mexico.
Right. There'll be all these different factions. You kind of like you got to marry / that's the thing is you have to figure out the right blend of physical violence and marrying your way into powerful clans. Yeah. You have to kind of make a calculated decision. If you fight and your bloodline gets annihilated, well, game over. Do you marry your way in? At some point, someone's going to own land that you want, and if you're a minor family and they're a more powerful one, they're not going to let a minor family usurp them. You have to fight them at some point. So how do you do? You have to whittle them down. You have to dilute them. You have to sabotage them slowly over generations. All these kinds of plays start to kind of become visible.
Yeah.
And so I kind of view my own life as sort of like part of that sort of struggle of like, okay, well, you're now the player character. Eventually that mantle will be passed on to someone else. Like, okay, well, how do I set that next character up? Actually, it's funny because I'm going to get married in the next couple of months. And so one of the things we talked about for wedding bands is, so for the wedding band, I'm going to have like my Chinese surname and then my girl, her surname. Originally, the idea is, we put our names in the ring. I was like, okay, well, let's think multi-generationally. Like, okay, we have my name and her family surname. And then the idea is we're going to leave the rest of it blank and we'll turn it into a family heirloom. eventually when our children get married, we're going to have that person inherit the ring, and then they get to put the next name that they marry into that ring. And the idea is we want to kind of fill out that ring, basically. Everything gets passed down to multiple generations. If we do it this way, it'll last like 150, 200 years before the ring is fully filled up.
Covered. Yeah.
And the idea, thinking about these things, like, and if you set these things up, I think it encourages people to think more generationally, not just like, I'm going to live my life. It's you are part of a dynastic struggle between various factions. Most families their lines will just get fizzled out. No one's going to remember the names of their grandparents.
Yeah.
If you're the one that actually can remember, you get to have some sort of power over those who just simply live for themselves. Mm-hmm. You're part of a dynastic family. So we talk about this, and then so she's on board, and it's a lot of fun. So
I always remember your words, to be honest. But within my personal life, like, I'm just like, you know what? I know I'm thinking right now, but let me think differently.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, like everyone's thinking about their little circle.
And yeah, dude. Like, even your minor thoughts have a strategic way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like,
so this is what I say. It's so fascinating. It's so in my wheelhouse that if I played this game, I would stop playing it in real life. I'm trying to play in real life.
Tonight we're all just gonna be
like I'm we can make sacrifice. We want to have more kids than just simply have like, because everyone's like, oh, just have like one or two. That's fine. It's like, no, you really want to have multiple siblings. And from the same woman, like, yes, as a guy, it's like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to have like a bunch of women. It's like, you can fantasize about it, but perfect example. There was recently there was a guy who passed away. So there's a guy named Stanley Ho. Now in the U.S., in Las Vegas, they have all these different casino owners. They're all like billionaires. They compete. They're fighting against each other. Getting market share, stealing each other's employees, whatever. Mm-hmm. In Macau, every casino was owned by one dude for the last like 60 years. Stanley Ho. Every single, and all these different. There's multiple casinos, but ultimately they're all owned by one single dude. And think about it now. If you're like Stanley Ho is his name, yeah. So if this dude, he just died like last year, and this guy was like married, divorced multiple times over the course of his life. Mm-hmm. But think about it, not only is just wealth of like being a casino owner with no competition, also every single criminal that needs to launder money also went through him.
Oh my!
19 casinos in Macau. There we go. Right? No competition. Government granted monopoly. And now, by the way, Macau's total gambling volume is about 5x that of Las Vegas. 5 Las Vegas is side to side. That is Macau's total gambling, and it was all controlled by one dude. One dude with no competition. He didn't have to like lower his prices. Be like, okay, if I'm offering a deal you don't like, you're gonna go across the street and go to talk to the guy at Sands or whatever. Like, no. I'm the deal. You don't like the terms I'm offering. You get to just go home and do nothing.
Continent.
Go to another continent. Yeah. Go to Vegas and just try to speak English.
That is unheard of.
That's a lot of power. So the reason why I mentioned it is Stanley Ho, he won the money game. But here's the funny thing. So he recently died. He just passed away, I think 2020, right? Yeah. And so this guy married, divorced multiple times. And so he's got like a bunch of kids from a bunch of like ex-wives. His youngest kids are older than his oldest wife.
It's come up on some money.
And all these kids are coming. And so now the problem is that all of his blood descendants are suing each other for their share of the inheritance. There's a bunch of like buzzards all fighting each other for their share.
Not surprised.
Right? And so it's like now instead of having everyone working as one team, everyone's now fragmented into a bunch of like vultures sending millions of dollars to lawyers to fight each other. Your own blood children, instead of like all working together as one unified team. And think about it, you have all these different women that are married to him at different times in his life. They all hate each other, obviously. Right? He never really loved you, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
And all the kids are they've been told by their mothers, like all these stories about each other and whatever. Again, talking about breakups. I'm sure all these stories are all very inflated. and so you have people that are supposedly your half siblings that are your mortal enemies with infinite resources, shares of your billionaire father's money that are now spending your father's billions to fight each other for a larger slice of your thing. So from one perspective, he won. From the perspective of like, you've impregnated multiple women and had lots of kids, had a bunch of money.
Yeah.
But generationally,
failed.
Yeah. You have your own blood family fighting each other, buzzards picking off your remains instead of. Imagine what they could have done if they were all a unified team.
Oh yeah.
And so
they could have been 10 times bigger than that.
Exactly. But now they're just So this is SJM Holdings, which owns 19 casinos. Godfather, king of gambling, and government granted monopoly. And I'm sure the government got a lot of kickbacks from him as a result. It's like, we want to. So every single new casino that opened up in Macau, the other thing was for a while, okay, you get to be like a 49% owner of a casino. I still get 51%. So all these American billionaire casino owners are like, oh, I'd like to open a casino in Macau. It's like, okay, yeah, you can give me money and I still own a majority. Yeah. Those are terms. And that's the only game in town. So you want this or not? Fine. And and he got more people to come in, give him money, and he still owns a majority of the businesses that are on his terms.
That's insane.
For his entire life. This guy was...
Did he die of old age or?
Who the hell knows? I mean, he was pretty old. Look, when was he born? Look at this.
Yeah, he looks pretty.
1921.
I mean,
so yeah,
he looks like he's ready to.
If he owned it for 75 years, that says enough.
He was damn near 100 years old.
Yeah.
Damn.
And
so this was a government-backed monopoly.
Yeah, which meant that the government is what we think of governments. It's basically he owned the right people in government to say, we'd like to open a casino. Yeah, we're not issuing any more permits. Theoretically, anyone could open a casino, but hey, listen, you got this guy that wants a casino. Yeah. Just deny it. Deny that permit. Deny that permit.
So he is the government in a sense.
It's even better.
It's exactly what happened in Russia. People say that China isn't a communist society yet. However, isn't it interesting that the majority of the big industries in Russia are owned by
former government officials?
Yeah, single entities or gangsters previously.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they were government officials, but what they really dealt with was usually illegal shit.
But this is the thing.
Things happening in China. Same exact thing to a T. But it's not communism. It's democratic. Yeah, they elect them.
Yeah. What do they call that?
They elect their leader.
Click on the family and non-linear relations. There's a whole click on family. Scroll down. Family. Non-linear relations.
Can you imagine being the lawyers in this scenario?
Oh my God.
Oh, you'd be
second cousin, long-running owner's relationship with a sister. Look at all the complicated.
He danced for televised charity.
What the hell does Bruce Lee have to do with this?
Bruce Lee and Stanley Ho were second cousins to Lee's mother.
Oh, shit.
Right? Over the years, he had a...
Ho Fook.
Yeah.
Ho Fook.
Yeah, so he's got...
Is that Whole Foods?
No. It's a real name, but it just sounds bad in English.
No, because it's highlighted. So
I'm
sorry, me and my 5-year-old.
It's like
brother.
It's fine.
You know, they read something.
No, you
fuck it, Ty. Fuck it.
But yeah, so this guy, married and divorced multiple times in his life, had multiple, in his 50s, had a 20-year-old wife, all Miss Hong Kong, just beautiful women, whatever. He always had access to beautiful women because you're a freaking billionaire.
Of course.
Right? But also, now you have this dynamic where you have a bunch of blood children that are older than your wives. And everyone's fighting for, and of course, near the end of your life, everyone's trying to be extra nice to you to make sure they get in the will. And they're all running that game, and so you're like, you know what?
Father, how are we distributing the money?
Right, exactly.
This guy is straight up a gangster.
Yep.
Not only did he own literally all of the, and when I say gangster, I don't mean that as a term of endearment. I mean a Sopranos style.
Yeah.
Race horses.
I mean, he was literally owned every casino.
Yes.
And also owned a number of thoroughbred racehorses.
What do you expect?
Yeah, if you look up casino, the first thing you should see is his face.
But you don't, unless you know. I'm sitting here I've known this for a while, so I was sure, that sounds about right.
It's it's crazy.
The Better Business Bureau would
apparently he danced,
dude. That's not to mention all the shit he owns that he doesn't even talk about.
Right, exactly. There's stuff that own LLCs that are established in the Cayman Islands or whatever. It's this is just the official stuff that's attributed to him. There's got to be probably 2 to 3x that money's worth of official net worth that's in land grants or in a nonprofit or some whatever.
So in a sense, this guy could be actually richer than
Elon Musk for sure.
Elon Musk.
Oh yeah, easy.
Elon Musk is he's not cash rich. He's asset rich.
Because of his stock ownership.
Yeah.
Tesla, as much as I enjoy Tesla and I like the idea of what they're trying to do, it is semi overvalued. Their stock, right?
Yeah.
You could argue that their stock value is so high just because the technologies that they're rolling out are better than any other electric manufacturer. And I would probably agree with you on that. However, they still have ridiculously high rates of problems rolling out of the factory floor. I've heard personal horror stories of people saying that on the factory floor that you're so strapped for time that you just have to jerry-rig stuff in order to get it to work and push it out.
Yep.
Right?
Damn.
And also, they have a tough time meeting actual production orders and stuff like that. There's no reason their stock should be valued as high as it is. And I think Elon's actually aware of that.
Yeah, he's very aware.
Yeah, Elon's an incredibly intelligent person. So I don't think he's taking this second or most wealthy man in the world thing super duper seriously, because he's aware of how quickly that could go away for him.
The way he plays it out is he'd rather just give it to Bezos anyway.
Yeah.
Plus, who gives a shit?
And he sold his 2 house in California. He had two mansions in Bel Air, a $25 million one and a $10 million house in Bel Air. Both of them were sold recently.
Yeah, last year. He sold both of them so he could just get a small apartment for him and his chick and his son or daughter, whatever.
Yeah,
he's like, we don't need this. Like, it's unnecessary.
And
so he got
free
rid
of the cash, and so
yeah. But
yeah. So and then the fight, as far as I know, for Stanley Ho's estate is still happening. There's still like unresolved issues. My guess is I guarantee you, there's more than like a couple of women he's impregnated he didn't marry, and they're like trying to get in, like, hey, I'm also Stanley Ho's heir. Let's do a blood test, and god damn it, comes back positive. And listen, what can we pay you to just shut up and go away? Like, I know you got billions, so I want my cut. I want like 1.5 mil, nothing less. How about like, it's $700,000 to fuck off? No, I'll make a big stink about this. And it's like, can we just kill him? We still have Dad's contacts, right?
I was about to say, that begs a question. How is the Chinese government going to deal with who replaces Stanley Ho?
I don't know. I don't know the current.
How are they going to go about that?
Actually, yeah.
You think they would want to choose an heir,
right?
One of the kids.
One single person, but it's like they're all unreliable. They're all fighting each other.
Dude, honestly, they'd probably just take that shit over.
Huh? But who is going to be in that position?
Yeah, there has to be.
It's not just
some pawn.
It's not going to be a pawn. It's going to be that person has a lot of power.
It has to be somebody legit
and someone who's reliable. Someone, if you give orders, that person's going to follow. Like, hey, listen, someone's going to walk in the casino with $10 million in cash. Normally, we got to like bust them for money laundering. In this case, it's one of our guys. You got to let it go through. You got to be able to say, look, this guy gets a pass. Just fucking let it go. I know. Normally, we would feel like, I was like, okay, yeah. It's the dude.
Just let him through.
Just don't ask questions.
Let it slide.
That's like being a certain nationality at
he's the boy.
Airport somewhere.
Yeah, he's our guy. And so you got to have someone who's reliable enough that when they're given an order, they will follow suit. and also just like help everyone else who can place them that they listen, without us, you wouldn't be in this position. So when you make $1 billion, you're going to cut each of us like our cut. This guy gets 10%, this guy gets 2%, I get 15% for setting all this stuff up.
Yeah.
Right? Guarantee fee. Right. All that's going to happen. All that gets negotiated. They're not going to let a power vacuum of that size and magnitude just go unanswered.
Yeah, that is a quite a big leak that you're going to have to patch on the boat, right? Because the second that this guy left, as you previously mentioned, they lost a huge asset, not in terms of managing people, but also managing the liabilities that come along with working for the Chinese government.
Yeah.
And they understand that it's a huge amount of pressure to bestow onto somebody, and not everybody can handle that shit.
And he grew up with it.
Exactly.
So he was born with it. He was in his 20s, which meant that someone handed it to him. You don't own a bunch of casinos in your 20s without having some connections and whatever, right?
What do you mean, bro? I built this from the ground up.
Yeah, bootstraps. Just bootstrap your own casino. It's easy. Some craps games in the back of the building. You just build that bankroll, and then you get your client base.
This actually reminds me. There's a little area down here, a little Saigon. If you go down here, there's a bunch of pool places and table tennis.
Ah, yes.
They're huge lots.
Oh yeah.
They are huge buildings.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like one of these places that is not taken care of.
Yeah.
And it's just like take your balls, give me the $4, dip. Now I wonder why
that sounds really awful and out of context. Take your balls, give me the $4.
Yeah, give me the $4.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah. It's like that. It's not like a customer service kind of place. It's more of like a, hey, come on in, just do your thing. But here's what's crazy to me is that it's so cheap.
Yeah,
and there's the only reason why I think they make a lot of money is because they charge by the hour.
Okay.
And some people are there all day, just smoking cigarettes, smoking friendly.
Oh, you can smoke inside?
Yeah, everything's
really.
Yep.
There's some places that you can,
because I'm pretty sure that's illegal.
Technically illegal, but no one's enforcing it. Yeah. I'm sure that any like health officer comes up and is like, dude, you know who owns this place? Get the fuck out.
Yeah, it's freaking weird.
You want your job? You know that my uncle like paid for your boss, right? Just
but you see how there's so much wrong already.
Yeah.
How is that being passed? And how are they making money? And why does this building exist?
Money laundering operation, right?
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier.
So the whole complex is basically, it's about, I don't know.
It's all cash. It's credit cards.
It's a rectangle. And on each opposite end of the building, there's a pool place here and a pool place here.
Yeah.
This one is smoking friendly. This one is not.
Right.
That's the only difference.
Are any of them worth visiting?
They are.
Just
I've seen some
from an
rowdy
anthropological standpoint, it's fascinating, right? I would go.
If we can play pool for like $6, I don't.
That'd be fun.
It's
That's a
lit.
deal. Like,
That'd be worth it. Yeah, I would do. Let's do it. Let's
But
go.
think about how many businesses there are.
That's
okay?
like this. Cash only, no credit cards.
Yeah. The filter is going
And
to
the
get
thing
some.
is, it's like, do you not want to make money? Why don't you charge a little bit more? I know you can.
Because they don't.
And
They don't. That's not the point. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not the point. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So then even their snacks.
Right.
You know, people overcharge for snacks because they're,
That's a
catered.
profit
$4
center.
for
Yeah,
Snickers.
He's
Yeah,
already
it's a profit
here or
center.
whatever. No.
And they're like, you grab a bag of chips for like 50 cents. I'm like,
It's like,
what?
You could charge $2
Yeah,
and
you
probably
could
get it out of us.
Yeah.
Nah.
Because it's
That's
convenient.
more money to deal with. We're trying to already launder a bunch of shit through here. It's already looking like kind of weird. So we don't make it look more weird. We don't need your money. We got like cocaine money. We got to launder through here. It's just like yeah, fine. We'll give it to you.
And those places usually have the weirdest shit around.
Yeah, they really do.
Prostitution.
Yeah.
They really do. Yeah. You can tell prostitution. There's a massage place right next door.
Oh.
You know what goes on there, dude?
There's a pho place
Massages,
down there.
right? I mean, right? That's.
Hey,
No,
I mean, what's everything else if it isn't a massage, dude?
What's life without a happy
Could you
ending,
imagine
right?
being a bookmaker at that massage place and it's like,
Oh my God.
okay, so I'm running through this and you have 0 transactions involving a credit card of any kind, yet you do have a credit card reader and
Yes.
you only accept prepaid gift cards.
Yeah.
Why is that?
we only
Bunch of Amazon, bunch of Target red cards. Okay.
we only accept
else?
prepaid cash.
Yeah, everyone goes through here. They pay $200 and they want like $150 cash back. Yeah, that sounds legit.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like the more I live, the more I'm realizing that all these places that I've been around are just,
There's like a bunch of weird stories.
Well,
that
you have to open your
dig
mind
into
to
it.
them.
Oh
You
yeah.
have to-
Oh yeah.
you have to know what's going on. Just like there's an apartment building that's very famous in. I don't know if I should actually say where it is.
Just
You say
more
the
anonymous
city.
entity.
It's
county.
it's
a
local.
famous apartment building.
Yes.
That's
It's
semi-local.
local. I don't have to say the name of it, but it's been known that it's
Just
owned
gives
by
the
a
address.
drug dealer.
Oh my god.
It's one of those fancy ones by major attractions.
Okay.
I wonder which
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Which one?
That's really narrowed it down. But anyway, go on.
You know what I mean? But it's I know 2 people that are in the car industry.
Yeah.
That live in those apartments.
Oh my god.
They pay over $3,400 a month.
Okay.
So they're paying very luxurious kind of
Right.
style lofts and
Right,
whatever. But they were telling me, they were like, hey, this isn't the first building. This is the second building that they've owned.
Mm.
And this is all just money laundering operations.
Interesting.
Drug dealers that are pretty widely known within the counties of blah, 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 blah.
Jesus.
And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
And they're like, yep, it's pretty nice living, huh? And I'm like,
Don't piss off.
so
the
I'm like,
Yeah.
dude,
Don't piss on the landlord.
except this guy
Don't be
is
late with the rent.
except this guy is smart. He's a
Right.
drug dealer and he's collecting rent.
Rent money.
Yeah,
and then
everything.
he also has a bunch of safe houses, like stashes
Yeah.
stuff. Has security camera surveillance. He can, you know,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah, he's so chilling. Like,
And then you
It's
can
just-
book
it's all
all. And I'm
around
sure.
us.
I'm sure a bunch of the empty apartments are like rented out for cash. They're
Yeah.
like they have tenants in there supposedly, and then like, oh yeah, every month this tenant pays me in cash, like $3,500.
yeah, exactly.
And then that allows them to put it on the books, and then it's like, oh, pay taxes
Yeah.
on it. And I'm just a
Everything
regular
looks,
tax paying, like,
yeah, because we go through everything by the book,
Mm-hmm.
not by the what you see.
I'm a great American citizen. What can I say?
Yeah. So that's the thing. But yeah, these hidden worlds are,
Yeah.
are what I
It's-
find fascinating.
Yeah.
But,
It's like the dark web in real life.
yeah. Then
what it
it's all around you. If you willing to just look a little bit past, you can see all these little kinds of things. You're like, huh.
And sometimes it'll come to you.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
That's insane, dude.
Good stuff.
Anything
Yeah,
else you
good
gentlemen
stuff.
want to touch on?
Yeah, is
Honestly,
there anything that's been
I just wanted to say thank you for hopping
Yeah,
on again, dude.
always a pleasure.
we love you.
Thank you.
Your mind
Always fun.
is insane. It's inspiring. It's
It's a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
so
We're
it's
happy to be back and
Yeah,
chat
man.
more on
Yeah,
on
for
the
sure. We'll
topics.
get you
But
on
yeah,
again, too.
Some fun little rabbit holes to dive into, especially with this one. It's it's like
yeah.
Yeah, this one's crazy.
yeah, right. It's crazy, and then now it's like you got to figure out an error. You got to now you split across. It's not just. I mean, the morons are the ones that are fighting for the leftovers, but it's like the real power has got to be
Yeah,
who controls all the dirty secrets. I mean, that
Yeah.
guy died with a lot of secrets.
that's true.
Yeah.
Oh
Seriously.
man.
Like, think about all the shit he knew, all the people that he helped like launder money for, running through his casinos. All right, you're gonna bring in what? $100 million in like $100 bills or like Korean won notes or Chinese yuan or whatever. It's like, all right, well look. Normally I can do like this denomination. For you, I'll make an exception, but all right, I gotta like move some shit around. I gotta like set up a
Yeah.
I'll do it for you. I need to charge a commission. And also now I know your secret.
Yeah.
I know you're like a government official that suddenly moved like 100 mil.
It's the biggest form of payment you can ask.
Yeah,
for.
it's like listen, one day, it's that sign from like that line from. Did you ever watch the movie The Godfather? The beginning, it was like, one day there will come a time when I ask of you a favor, and you will not say no. Right? It's like, yeah, I'm gonna give you this as a freebie. I'm not gonna even charge my usual commission, but one day, I'm gonna make an ask of you. It's gonna be a big ask, and you're gonna say yes.
Damn.
It's like
that's heavy.
he has a lot of shit like that bank that was like, who has those markers now? No one knows.
Ironically enough, I feel like this guy's biggest form of payment, and this might be a weird sentence to hear just out of the gate, but I feel like his biggest form of payment that he got was probably dying semi-peacefully.
Right? No, absolutely.
For sure. For the shit that guy must have known, the people
there's a lot of people that want him dead.
Helped out. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right?
There's a lot of people that like, dude, it'd be so convenient if this guy just died of some random cause. It's like, this guy lived to 90.
99.
99. Oh, right. Oh shit, that's right. Born in
he was born in
21. So
and
he would have been 100 this year. So 90. Oh yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's multiple very powerful people that's like, dude, if he just died, that would make my life so much easier. And he just didn't. Like, if there's like, think about it, like a person with like 100 million net worth, like 1% of his net worth is $1 million. Yeah, I'll find like an out of work, like ex-military guy to arrange some sort of accident. Very easy to do.
Yeah.
At that level. But I'm sure he's had runs at him. He's got his own security force. I'm sure he can afford all that stuff. But survived assassination attempts.
Provided, I would imagine, right?
Probably. I mean, at that level, he's protected by government. He's going to have like military guys, ex-police. Everything is monitored. Every single
He'll probably just call the general himself.
Yeah, like, hey, listen, man.
Can we get this done?
Can we get some of your special forces guys? It's just all your hitters that are a little too wild for the regular army. Just like send them my way.
He probably has the freaking the hot dial number for the economy.
Everybody. Who's going to refuse a call from this guy? Like, yeah, listen, I handle everyone's dirty money. Are you gonna send me to your secretary? Yeah. Really? Like he'll call like any world leader, be like, listen, I need to talk to the president of insert country. Like, okay, I'll take this call.
The only man that can speak to the economy.
Oh, hello?
Yeah.
Listen, I own all your shit. Like, hello? I'll drop everything. Yeah, I'm in the middle of a UN thing, but no, go on. What do you need? Let me see what I can do for you, man. Right, I'm giving a speech to UN. Yeah, but I got to put it on hold. Holy shit. What do you need, Stanley? All right. That's going to be a big ask, but I'll do everything I can to make you happy. All right. Are we good? All right.
Give me an hour to think about it.
Yeah.
No, not my daughter.
Right? Yeah, seriously.
I get you.
This guy's got juice, right?
Saeed likes to laugh at misfortune. We learned that in the last episode.
Oh my God.
And with that,
we were talking about this. The king of Thailand.
Oh my God, bro!
Oh, I know all about that. Yeah.
Dude, if you heard the first 6 minutes was me, you can hear the tears out of my eyes. And I'm like, I should not be laughing, but all she did was question the queen.
Oh yeah, he did, bro. He didn't even. Sorry, she didn't question. She just said, "Is like." I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh yeah,
it's like, and your legs are broken.
Yeah.
Oh,
you don't mess with the king. Anyway,
don't fuck with the king.
Mind sending us off, good sir. Episode 74.
74. We're good.
2 a.m. podcast. Thank you very much for joining us once again, Kai. We appreciate you.
Tremendous pleasure. We're awesome. We will talk more hopefully very soon.
Yes.
Cheers. Be well.
Yes.
And with that being said, you can find us on social media platforms under the name The 2 a.m. Podcast, platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Anchor.fm, Audible.com, or the, what's the Amazon one?
It's the Audible.
Is Audible the podcast?
No, it's just, Amazon Music. There we go.
Any streaming service.
Any streaming service, The 2 a.m. Podcast. You can also find us on YouTube at officially 2 a.m. Don't forget to check out our Clips channel as well. And
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Sounds good. Cheers. Be well.
Number 75. We will catch you next time, guys.
Sounds good. Soon. Good night.
Later.
Take care.